IVM.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 5 of The Fighting Goat. My name is Arjun aka Mystic Chipalkatti. I'm joined by my buddy, my partner, mera dost, mera yaar, and most importantly, one of the most fiery critics in the sport, Mr. Somesh, the Superhuman Kamra. How are you doing, buddy?
That's a very lengthy but a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much, Chips. I'm so excited to be here. Episode 5. I never thought we would make it this far. We thought IVM, IVM would kick us out before that. But
No.
things have gone well. Situations are great, and I'm so happy to share the desk with you.
Stupid market, yeah. I mean, except in the city, yeah. Please, everybody, please stay safe, stay at home. Please take care of yourselves. Coronavirus is on the rise. Bombay is competing with the world. Actually, not even competing. We're leading. I think the cases are going crazy. So please stay at home and only listen to IVM Podcasts on ivmpodcast.com.
Absolutely, yes. In fact, the beauty of the digital world is that, I can sit in one part of the world, you can sit in the other part of the world. The studio can be in a third part of the world altogether, and we can still do this. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, it is. I think our football hosts, our buddies from the other show, they sit in different parts of the world.
Right. Absolutely. And they still pull out great content. So, kudos to them. It's great. It's great to be doing this.
Except the footballers are, the football fans, their fans are nothing compared to our fans, Is our fans, if when Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi fall down, they come running with tissues and hankies to take care of their crocodile tears. But where our fans, when one of our guys loses shit, they destroy him, man. I mean, what happened to poor Stipe? People making jokes. He got brutally knocked out and he fell down backwards, twisting his knee, and people are making Game of Thrones bend the knee memes.
In fact, it's so funny because people are comparing his knockout, his brutal knockout, to Krokop's knockout, and it's it's so funny that both the Croatians have got knocked out in a way where after their brutal knockout, instead of sympathizing, people are making memes on them.
Yeah, man. I mean, I told you, worse than MMA fans are worse than Manchester United fans. And if you football boys have something to say about it, please hit us back.
Tag us on The Fighting Goat on ivmpodcast.com. Arjun, let's kick off the first round.
Sir. The week
of
that
the IVM.
was.
Absolutely, the week that was, and let's hit it up with UFC 260. How did it go? Of course, there was a cancellation of the co-main event, but what an event. It started off with, nothing went to the decision except for the women's fight. They were all finishes. When was the last time that we had a card where there were so many finishes?
I think it was a couple of fights ago. It was a fight night where we literally saw first round, second round finishes. But no, not all finishes. No, maybe one decision. But that was in the undercard, that too. But the kind of fights that we had this weekend, I mean, we started off, we bet on 3 fights, but we'll give you the highlights. I mean, we saw Sugar Sean O'Malley take on Thomas Almeida, who is a super veteran in his right, and put on literally a beautiful clinic.
Well, what we called, he put on the sugar show.
Yeah. You're his biggest fan, no, Somesh?
Well, see, there's an advantage of being a fan and being a critic because honestly, I can just hang on the fence. I can love when I want and I can hate when I want.
That's true. My parents have always called me that, fence sitter. Now. Can't choose one path.
Well, that's always what your girlfriend's told you.
Don't get personal, okay? This is, I'm in a very volatile space right now.
Well, but Arjun, before getting to Sean O'Malley, I would like to talk about Khama Worthy's main card debut today.
Yeah,
and he was facing Australian Jamie Mullarkey.
Yeah, Mullarkey was
it was the first round in 46 seconds that he got put away.
It was incredible. The way he came in with that beautiful left hook, had him do the stank dance in the middle of the octagon. And that right hand on the ground that put him away was so well timed, so economical.
But in fact, that gets me because I know Khama Worthy personally, and I've seen him on the pre-prelims. Like the early prelims. I've seen him on the prelim card, and this man has been actually demolishing all his opponents.
That's true.
And suddenly when the lights come on and he's on the main pay-per-view, which is obviously headlined by Francis Stipe, it had Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega, which obviously didn't happen, but it was supposed to be on that card. What really happens when you get on the bigger stage of the biggest platform and you get knocked out in 46 seconds of the first round? I mean, is it butterflies in the stomach? Is it just bad luck, or is he not ready for this?
I don't know. It's hard to say because there are a lot of things that are going on during the fighter's mind. And like we've spoken to fighters, who have told us, guys like Mohammad Farad, who was on our show a couple of episodes back. Guys, if you've not seen that, then that was a great one. Go check it out only on ivmpodcast.com. But that's a very interesting thing. Somesh, it's not easy, and you don't know what was going through his mind. Maybe he didn't have the best training camp, or maybe he was just caught. Sometimes the greatest in the world can also get caught. So maybe he just got caught. It was one punch that got him hurt. Second one finished him off. It's not like he was beaten over a period of time, He wasn't being embarrassed or anything. He just got caught. But speaking of, who didn't get caught? Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley went ahead and did his business right. I got to give it to Almeida though. What a chin on the guy. In that first round, where it looked like he was almost going to get knocked out.
Oh, man.
It was unbelievable how he survived.
Honestly, I feel that was a lapse on Sean O'Malley's part because he thought he had knocked him out and the referee would step in at the end of round one.
Agreed.
But, come on, let's be honest. He could have finished that, but maybe ego took over. He thought he was the heavyweight Mark Hunt power kind of guy. And, he thought the referee would step in, but that didn't happen. And so I think Thomas Almeida got a, what we call, spruce of life out there. But it was quite funny because Thomas Almeida, being the veteran that he is, even though he got knocked down by Sean O'Malley, his eyes were absolutely fine. It didn't roll back.
Correct.
His head position was perfect. It didn't seem he was hurt. He came back to his feet and it seemed he was ready to go. Yeah, maybe he was a little shaky, but it did not seem that he was hurt. Sean O'Malley definitely has done a great job. He ended the fight in the third round. Thomas Almeida had enough. It was 3 minutes, 52 seconds of round number 3. But I feel that first round was so dominating that Thomas Almeida knew that he signed up for something which is a little out of his league. And I felt we saw the old Sean O'Malley back. I was so happy to see him because, it's not the guy who's out there.
No, but Somesh, what we saw in that round 1 when he stepped back and he thought the fight was going to get waved off, he got a little lucky because we've seen devastating things happen to fighters who have done something like that in the past. And if no knock on Almeida, but imagine him fighting a top 5 and him doing that, he could have very well made him pay for it. He would have paid for that mistake. And then he would have kicked himself even more.
Absolutely, yes.
Even more so. Because its fighters have lost on the brink of victory in the past. It's crazy, but he's so talented, he's so crafty, he's so exciting. He'll certainly he's already a draw. So, it's just these small things I think that he needs to change. But his post-fight speech was so good. He was humble. He gave all props to his opponent. And maybe we might be seeing a change from now on. Maybe.
Well, absolutely, yes, because that Marlon Vera loss that Sean O'Malley suffered, I think a fighter who has the correct mindset would learn from that and come back in a strong way. However, saying that, I think Thomas Almeida, poor chap, man, 4-fight losing streak.
Yeah, man.
He has lost to Jimmy Rivera in 2017, then Rob Font 2018, Jonathan Martinez 2020, and now Sean O'Malley 2021, which means his last win was in 2016.
That's crazy.
He's been losing for 4 consecutive years. Arjun, do you think he's going to stick around?
I don't know. The UFC is in the process of remodeling, reshuffling. They've got 900 fighters.
Yes.
They need to trim the fat a little bit. And they're already culling fighters like Junior Dos Santos, Alistair Overeem, who are legends, who would normally never get cut. have been released.
Right.
And
Right.
and speaking of cut, we move on to our next one where we saw Tyron Woodley, the former welterweight champion, former dominant
man.
welterweight champion. He's dropped a few in his last fight, and it was a great, exciting fight against Vicente Luque. Luque, I gotta say, Somesh
Right.
is a superstar on the rise. Superstar.
Oh man, this guy. Oh man, people who have not seen this need to tune in to Sony 10-2 or Sony 10-3, and please have a look at the co-main event, Vicente Luque versus Tyron Woodley. And speaking of getting cut, Arjun, by the way, Tyron Woodley's contract has not been renewed
Oh, really?
by the UFC.
So
Yes.
that's
So-
what I mean. He's already, he's dropped 3, and now this is his 4th as well.
Yes, so he has lost 4 fights in a row. And this was the last fight on his contract. And apparently, what I got to know, they are in no position to even renegotiate or even get him on, which means
Shit.
he's a free agent now.
Yeah. But I think he might do what what a lot of other guys have done. It's especially Anthony Pettis, whose contract was not being renegotiated, but he went out on a win. And that allows you to
Right.
negotiate a certain amount, a certain price. He went out on top. So I don't know. I don't know, how many promotions are going to be. Of course, Tyron Woodley is still a draw, yes. But I think something has changed, in him since the last few years. It's just he's
Right,
become very
right.
gun shy. He's not able to pull the trigger. And you saw how he came out against Luque. He came out looking to make a point. He ran up to him and cracked him with a big right hand. But Luque,
Right.
the crafty fighter that he is, took his time, and you saw every shot that Tyron Woodley threw at Luque. Luque was okay. He was never hurt. But the first shot
Right.
that Luque landed on Woodley, had
man,
him rocked
that-
so badly.
That just changed the ball game. And you know what? Honestly, the viewers need to know that after that loss to Salman Khan, Tyron Woodley has not remained the same.
Is the curse of Salman Khan, man. Is the curse of Salman Khan. But that's so interesting. We'll talk more about Bollywood and Salman Khan in the main event. But the thing is that, if you've never been hurt or never been knocked out, or knocked down, that when you get hurt badly, it's like being in an earthquake. You lose your legs underneath you.
Yes.
Your vision gets a little blurry from the edges. You start seeing black on the sides. Your equilibrium is gone. Especially if you're hit around the ear. And it is a horrible place to be. And Tyron, my heart goes out to him. He hung in there, but Luque is just too much of a shark. And when he smelled blood in that
Yeah.
water, he had to go for it.
Sometimes what happens is, I personally feel, that I have seen this in a lot of fighters. Sometimes you just lose that drive,
Yeah.
I just cannot understand, someone who has beaten Kelvin Gastelum, Robbie Lawler, Stephen Thompson, Damian Maia, Darren Till.
And that too finished them, huh? Finished them.
These are the guys that Tyron Woodley has finished. And after that, he came out, with Usman that he lost, then Gilbert Burns, then Covington, and now Vicente Luque. And
Did you say Vijender Luque? It sounded like Vijender Luque.
Oh, bale.
We do give all our international fighters Indian names. I mean, who fought last time? Rakesh versus Santosh
Yes.
was there, right?
I think it was
Amandeep took on
Nunes,
Meghna. Amandeep and Meghna. Megan Anderson
what?
becomes Meghna.
This is the reason why the MMA fans are so horrible.
You know
because
what?
people
Hello,
like
we are
us.
not fans anymore. we gotta stop doing
So
this
yeah,
shit.
if I look at the level of competition from Usman to Burns to Covington to Luque,
That's a murderer's row. Murderer's row.
I personally feel the UFC are trying to give Woodley a chance to recover because the level of competition is going lower and lower and lower. So if you see the Usman fight, it went to a decision. Gilbert Burns fight went to a decision. The Covington fight got over in round 5, and this
Correct.
one got over in round 1. So this just makes me believe that Woodley is on his way down. I don't think he has a drive anymore. It typically happened when Ronda Rousey lost to Holly Holm the first time.
No, I wouldn't know. I don't know. So that was not drive. I think it was a function of she came back motivated. She came back motivated to take on Amanda. Only the thing is that was brutal. But I think it's just the fact that it is the oldest story in sports. every generation has to be beaten by the next one. It is the oldest story. And
so
in MMA, the page turns so quickly. In MMA, the page turns so quickly. One night you're the greatest of all time, and then the next lion comes and takes over.
But don't you think, sometimes the comeback has to be stronger than the setback? Don't you think that is something that, a fighter or an athlete needs to learn from? Like, for example, let's look at Sugar Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley lost in a mad fashion, in a brutal fashion, with that leg kick, Chito Vera actually gave him the medicine of pain, is what we say. But, in his mind, he never lost. So when he came back, he was a completely different fighter.
Yeah, but an argument can be made for Sugar Sean O'Malley is that he's still not, a lot of purists will say that he's not faced top 10 competition yet.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
10. You want to see him put up against a style makes fight wrestler. You want to put him up against a grappler who knows how to strike. So it all changes.
Are you hinting at Cody Garbrandt versus Sugar Sean O'Malley?
Oh, Cody Garbrandt versus, what? Why don't we just throw TJ in there with him? Sandhagen, man.
Yeah, well, but Sandhagen and TJ right now are like,
they're fighting themselves.
They're up there, they are up there.
But we got to. That was a great fight, and I can't wait to see more of Vicente and Luque. But we got to move on now to what was one of the greatest heavyweight fights, one of the greatest stories. It's literally a rags to riches story for the contender, Francis Ngannou. They call him the Predator, one of the most dangerous heavyweight fighters in the world. And he was taking on one of the most resilient and longest reigning heavyweight champion in history, Stipe Miocic. And it was Cinderella man's story. The way he came back, he had lost to him a couple of years ago, made the changes, and there's nothing to say. You just watch the fight. It is incredible.
Well, what you said right now, Arjun, was absolutely so perfect, because the rags to riches story is an ideal scenario if you speak of someone like Francis Ngannou. So he basically was a refugee from Cameroon that went to Morocco, then to France. He started fighting in France.
He was sleeping on the floor of gyms and had odd
bus
jobs.
Bus stop.
Sorry,
he was at a bus stop. And he went to a gym, and he was mopping the floor, and so
incredible.
He did everything he could, within his limitations. He did all that it could. And even after he lost versus Stipe the first time, he was shaken.
You could see that, we saw him take on Derek Lewis, and he was a little shaken because, maybe it was they were both respectful of each other's power, because both of them are animals. They hit as hard as, trucks moving towards you, and maybe he was shaken by that. But it's what you keep saying, Somesh. It's that generation of fighter that has suffered.
Yes.
He's not an athlete.
Yes.
He is a fighter.
Yes.
Blood through bones.
In fact, in the green room, before getting on the Ultimate Guide to UFC, we had spoken about the fact that how suffering can make you a good fighter, how suffering can actually take you up there. And Francis Ngannou, I personally felt in the first fight versus Stipe when he lost, I think he was disappointed at the fact that there were so many media commitments. Correct. And there was so much of, unnecessary flamboyant exposure that was going on there. He seemed more disappointed than hurt. The loss didn't hurt him as much as the fact that, he could have trained more, and he may have, had more time in the gym, maybe with his coaches, to actually, prepare a strategy and work more on the fight than these, than these commitments. However, after that, after the Derek Lewis fight, honestly, he had 4 huge knockouts. I think his last 4 fights before Stipe, he ended, I guess, in lesser than 2.5 minutes. About
3 minutes or something.
2 minutes 47 seconds is when he finished off his 4 fights. And we spoke about it. It may be a disadvantage to him because Stipe may drag him into deeper waters, may test his cardio, may gas him out like the first time. But honestly, it was a completely 180.
It was. And when you look at some fighters, and there are, he is the definition of a gentle giant. He's got the sweetest voice. He is on our show. We one of our colleagues from the Ultimate Guide to UFC, Sudhir Sachdev, did an interview with him, and he is a fan of disco dancer. He was doing,
sung it.
I am a disco dancer, and I'm like, Sala, how did he? And he said, we had to walk 1 hour or 2 hours to go to the theater to watch movies. I said, you walk 2 hours to the theater and you watch disco dancer. And that just shows. I said, someone get this guy a contract in Bollywood today. Today. Salman, where you at?
Well, once somebody loses to Salman, I think their career falls from there.
Yeah.
So,
you're going to get us in hot water. Salman's going to come outside and destroy our careers then.
So see, you know what? You cannot lose to Salman Khan, beat in Dabang or Sultan or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because the moment you lose to Salman, then,
Poor Woodley,
Yeah, poor Woodley. The thing of, the thing of being human just goes out of the window because he's not human anymore. Salman really beats you up there, and he literally pulls his strings all the way up to the UFC.
True, man. But my props to Francis Ngannou. He's a champion. He's going to be a great champion for a long time, unless we see him go up against the former undefeated GOAT in John Jones, which the UFC machinery is pushing so hard now. But you don't know. You don't know what happens, to be honest. One day, the boss says that you are going to be the next contender. The other day, he says you might be scared of him. I don't know what's going on, man.
Well, yeah, things can change overnight in the UFC. But Arjun, who would you like to see Francis Ngannou go against? If you were Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard, and you had to put your matchmaking cap on, then who would you put Francis Ngannou for his next fight? Because honestly, he didn't take too much damage in this one, and I personally feel in about 3 months he may be ready to defend that belt.
Correct. Maybe he could be on the corner card in July. And I think, honestly, the only man knocking on the door was Derek Lewis. He just knocked the life out of Curtis Blades. And he is the clear-cut number one contender, unless John Jones jumps the line. Or, I think Stipe is not going to come back for at least a few months. So I think Ngannou can defend his belt against the one man who beat him, even though it was the most lackluster and lowest action ever heavyweight fight in the history of heavyweight divisions anywhere. But I think he should take on that one man who beat him. What do you think?
Well, I think Derek Lewis is a perfect contender for this because it will be these two beasts who actually don't like grappling and wrestling, just going at it. And when was the last time we had one of these champions who was just going at it in the heavyweight division? Because when we had great fighters like Cain Velasquez, they were more of the wrestlers. DC was a wrestler that was looking to strike. But man, if it's Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou, how would that go down? It would be epic. But I cannot wait. You know what? Luckily, we are not the UFC matchmakers. Those guys will decide what's the next course of action for Francis Ngannou, who is the new heavyweight champion of the world. Congratulations, my brother. But now we move on and talk about the business of the promotion. So stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break for round 2 of The Fighting GOAT.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week, C.A.T Tires and the Whole Truth Foods. We really appreciate the support. So this week, Tune Into This Round is on me with Gauri Devidayal. She invited Sonal Holland, India's only master of wine, and they discussed the goodness and business of wine, the pros and cons of being women in the hospitality business, and motherhood. On The Traveling Professor, Siddharth Deshmukh looks at evolution of search and wonders how voice search might change things yet again. On Advertising is Dead, Varun Dugirala featured Anirudh Singla of Pepper Content. He shared his perspective on the term content and how he sees it going forward. On Storytellers and Storysellers, Vinny spoke to Ayushman Sinha, head of Represent, a music talent management agency. He spoke about life as a manager and about nurturing new talent and paving a progressive career path for them. On Cyrus Says, we had entrepreneur, businesswoman, and Ruckus Avenue radio host Alexandra Masur. They discussed ethnicity, life as Desi American, Seema Auntie's matchmaking show, and a lot of other fun stuff. Also, IVM has an hour every Sunday on the Ruckus Avenue Radio Network, a US-based radio station that caters to the South Asian community. It's available on Dash Radio, and you can catch the episodes on the IVM Likes feed every Monday. On The Habit Coach with Ashton Doctor, Ashton asks us to commit to sleep and prioritize it over every party, work deadline, or binge watch session, as it is a crucial time when the body slows down for maintenance and recovery. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Fighting Goat. You're talking to Arjun, Mystic Chips, and the Superhuman Somesh Kamra. Somesh, man,
Woohoo!
what a weekend of fights we had. But now we're going to talk about something that is a little more, that is actually a very important part of fighting. You know, it's a lot of fans don't think about it. A lot of people overlook it. But the promotion part, promoters have such an important job in fighting. From back in the day in boxing to, Don King, who embezzled money of fighters, to guys like Dana and Scott Coker, and Ken Pavia and all these guys who help promote the business of MMA. It's such a interesting world. And how important is it in our current sport right now? Without promotion,
Right.
MMA would not be where it is today.
Well, Arjun, that is such a valid point. I mean, it is something which I've been itching to talk for a very long time, and the Fighting Goat is the only platform where I can say this, because it's a very transparent, independent organization. We are not contractually bound by any, that yes, no's, you can do this, cannot do this, stuff like that. So, in fact, there was a time I believe boxing started to peak pretty much when bodybuilding started to peak in that 1970s, 80s, when we started seeing the flamboyance of boxing come out. It was the end of boxing was sometime maybe in the 1990s, because that is when there was a monopoly of Don King controlling almost everything.
He was also very corrupt, Somesh. Very corrupt.
It was, I mean, imagine a fighter like Mike Tyson that has made so much money going bankrupt. Where did that money go? Where did that money go?
See, that's the thing. It's promoters. Back then, promoters were managers as well. Like how Dana was when he was promoting Chuck Liddell and Rampage Jackson from the US to go fight in Pride in Japan.
Yeah.
He
And
was
Tito.
promoting them as well, and Tito as well. And he was promoting them and managing them. Of course, the sport has changed. Dana White is the president of the UFC. And fighters have their own managers. You've got so many guys like, I think one of the most famous managers are now Ali Abdulaziz. He's
Right.
one of the most famous managers. And who's Conor McGregor's manager? I think it's not
Audiator.
Oriata, correct. And there's so many but before we get to the modern day management and promotion part, I think it's compared to the Don King era where there was so much of embezzlement and stuff, and fighters back then were fighters. They were never businessmen. They never
Right.
knew what needed to be done. They just
Right.
were happy looking at fast cars and women and lavish homes and to get out of that poverty.
Right.
And-
And I personally believe that the fighting era in the 70s and 80s was more of, like the Hindi movies of today, where you like pick up this small kid from the coal mines and, treat him like a son and, bring him up, and he's kind of, he has that obligation towards you to kind of, listen to whatever you're saying.
Right.
But, and that was exactly when the boxing promoters started taking advantage of these fighters and they started swindling money off them.
Yeah, true.
Dana clearly said he's not going to get into boxing because of the corruption.
It's not just the promoters that may have been corrupt. It was also the time, the mafia was so involved
Yes.
in boxing, and fighters were told to take a dive and lose in XYZ round so that they could make so much money off the bookies, or their
Right.
family would be put at gunpoint, and it was such a dirty business. So I think promoters have such a huge responsibility. It's to not only popularize the fight, promote it, to also keep the business end of it clean. But a lot of arguments could have been made when the UFC was owned by the Fertittas. I mean, the
Yeah.
Fertittas are, you could call them in a way, they were. I would never use the word shady, but I would say that when you run a casino, well, it's not the most transparent business in the world.
It's not the cleanest business in the world.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah, it's not the most transparent business in the world, and whatever their dealings might have been their dealings, but in terms of keeping the UFC clean, they really did a good job, because Dana and the Fertittas, there never was a moment that you would ever think that, oh shit, this guy is taking a dive, or that fight was fixed.
Right.
Ever. Ever.
Very true. Very
Not
true.
until today even.
In fact, when you have some of the biggest promotions in the world that are actually competing to showcase the fact that they have the best fighters, I think that puts the sport in such a positive light, because people are looking to do good work. Organizations like One Championship, organizations like Brave, M1 Global, Bellator, UFC, these guys are the ones who are actually competing amongst themselves.
Yes.
But the competition is not about who's making more money, but the competition is who's got the better fighters. And obviously, when you play on the fact that you want the better fighter, that is when you start building the best matchups.
True. But when you talk about promoting and promotions, nobody right now can touch the UFC. Nobody.
Oh, no ways. No ways.
One FC is a huge organization. One FC has and admitted even by the president of the UFC, he recognizes the hold that One FC has over Asia. Asia is a humongous market. Tomorrow, when One FC, of course, is still, is growing slowly. The frequency of events is one event per every 10 events of the UFC. And it's even more, maybe 15 events. But the way they're going about, the promotion level is on par, I would say. The UFC has got the advantage of being now corporately funded. They've got a lot of money. They've got great deals. They've got great sponsorships. They're going to be starting their apparel sponsorship with Venom now. And I would say this is such an integral aspect of a promoter's job also. Look at what he's done with not only just his roster, his clients, the business aspect, everything. And Dana's face is everywhere. Now, Somesh, correct me if I'm wrong, but when the UFC was bought over for the value of, I think, $4 billion, it was with the clause that Dana White has to stay on board as the president. Wasn't it right?
Well, I do not know the nitty-gritties, but I know for a fact that when WME IMG bought the UFC from the Fertitta brothers in, I think, 2016, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 2016. That time.
That is when they said that they're going to retain Dana for, I guess, 5 years. And I guess it was just a few months back when they extended his contract for another 5 years.
Oh, he's going to be extended till his natural born life. Dana White is going to be the face of the business till he's dead.
But, in fact, Dana has been very vocal about this, saying that, he cannot keep doing this for the rest of his life. And I have never heard him say that. I have never heard him say that. But he was very vocal about the fact where he said, I'm not going to be doing this for the rest of my life. And he and Lorenzo Fertitta had launched a company called Zuffa Boxing in the year 2017 or 18. With the intention to, get into the boxing thing. And once he got into it, that's when he said, I'm sorry, but this is too dirty for me and it's going to take a lot of money to clean up. So I'm out of this.
Wasn't that around the time when Conor was being promoted under that banner against Floyd Mayweather? I think it was right around that time.
Well, yes.
When Dana was with him.
And in fact, if the listeners here do not know, it was Anthony Joshua who had met with Lorenzo Fertitta and Dana White, and his contractual amount that was offered was $500 million.
Holy!
That's $500 million.
That's a little less than what you make, no, Somesh?
Yes.
Because I'm around the 500-600 mil mark. But it's more like 500-600 million paise.
Well, it's more of.
I'll take 500-600 million paise also chalega. Here you go, आपका check 500 million paise. I'll take that also, yeah. No problem.
Well, yeah, so the contractual amount that was presented to Anthony Joshua was $500 million, and he refused it.
But the thing is that these
he refused
paychecks in
it.
boxing, no. But how long was the term? We don't know the deal. It could be
think
5
it was
years.
5 years.
Yeah.
I think it was 5 years.
No, I mean, if somebody like Mayweather can make 300 million in a night, and Anthony might be making about 100 million per fight. So if he fights, it depends. So getting 500 million for 5 years could certainly beat. He could fight twice a year and make 200 million.
Well, but I believe the terms were quite lucrative because this was just his signing amount. The rest of the perks were additional.
Okay, not counting sponsorship bonuses.
No, nothing of that sort.
Endorsement deals.
Nothing of that sort. It was just the first 500 mil that you're going to be with us for 5 years.
Huh.
But
till we get our hands on those contracts, one could never know. But Dana's right. Promoting in boxing and promoting versus in MMA. MMA is far younger a sport. I mean, MMA as a sport is only 20 years old. 25 years old max.
Right.
Max. And boxing has been around for over about 70 years now.
Right.
So, what I mean is televised boxing has been on for around 100 years now. But
right.
Overall, the sport is so much older. So much older.
Right. And I guess because of that, I believe boxing never had a genuine promoter that could take it to the next level. If I even pull up, the boxing promoters who have been there, someone like a Bob Oram, like a Eddie Hearn, like a Frank Warren, these guys didn't have good reputations with them. They were guys who were always associated with some mafia.
With the mob, man.
These guys played dirty games with the promoters. They play dirty games with the boxers, and honestly, the result is in front of us. I mean, how many?
Very true.
How many good boxing fights do we have off late? We've got Floyd that's going.
We've got some great boxing matches coming up. We've got Tyson Fury taking on Deontay Wilder.
Right.
We've got Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury taking on Anthony Joshua.
Yes.
And
that's
Andy
happening
Ruiz
in July.
Jr. taking on Deontay Wilder.
Well, yeah, but see, these are all the heavyweight guys, and there are probably 5 heavyweight guys that exists in the world today, and they're just kind of fighting amongst themselves. If I go to a category below that, I think the only one that is relevant is someone like a Floyd Mayweather, who is honestly...
you could say super middleweight is controlled by Canelo Alvarez, yeah?
Oh, yes.
I mean, that's a big category.
Yeah.
You've got Amir Khan somewhere in the rankings. And there are a lot of good guys there. Yes, but I get your point. Nowhere near the stacked divisions of MMA. Nowhere near.
Right.
Nowhere near.
In fact, even if I see Bellator, even a Bellator, I feel, has so many good fighters that they can put up a great show every alternate week. I'm not saying you need to be like a UFC and put up banging fights every single week, but
I mean, come on, 900 fighters, man.
Oh yeah, but they, they want to cut it down to about 700. So they are on that spree of, shedding the fat. Maybe about 200 fighters are going to receive the pink slip, and we are already seeing that happening. We saw Alistair Overeem get cut. We saw JDS get cut. Now Tyron Woodley's, contract is not being renewed.
Most likely. Thomas Almeida is also probably most likely going to get cut.
I think it's already done. I think it's already done. So they have clearly told us that we're not looking to renew the contract.
But, I think sometimes they've made a mistake also, because letting go of guys like Gegard Mousasi, Anthony Pettis, Rory McDonald, Lyoto Machida, those are top-tier fighters. Top-tier fighters.
But, Arjun, what happens is the moment a UFC fighter's contract gets over, like say, for example, he's making $75,000, just to show, and another $75,000 to win. Suppose, I'm just saying that. A guy like a Gegard Mousasi or a Lyoto Machida will automatically command a price that is 30% more that a PFL and Bellator would willingly pay. So, what happens, after a fighter is maybe in his mid-30s, who's like kind of past his prime, but on his way down, another organization like Bellator could just pick that up, say, listen, we have the funding. We need to kind of boost our, pay-per-view numbers, or
True.
it could be marketing, and why don't we get why don't we get a Gegard Mousasi? Why don't we get like a Lyoto Machida? And these guys, with the kind of marketing they get with the UFC, they are known faces. So
Yeah,
in fact,
absolutely.
being in the UFC is more of a win-win situation for them, because they as individual guys are getting the marketing like they've never got earlier. Now, imagine someone like a Francis Ngannou. A Francis Ngannou's
Francis-
contract
Yeah.
maybe about 125,000, to show up, and another 125,000 to win. But if he moves his boat to, say, a one championship or a Bellator, man, they would easily pay him 50% more than that. Easily, I'm saying.
True. Actually, that's true, because that's what, which we're coming up in our next segment, the MMA Face-Off. We're going to be talking about one of the most, in my personal opinion, one of the greatest fighters ever to live in this generation, apart from Anderson the Spider Silva, is Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Do you know, Somesh, till his last fight in the UFC, he was unbeaten from 2011.
Right.
From 2011, unbeaten, defended that belt 10 times in one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC, and he lost to the former two division title holder Henry Cejudo by a loss, and that is the only loss he's had in the last 10 years, in the last decade, and that too by decision. He wasn't knocked out or anything. But when he went as a free agent in the market. Promotions like Bellator, everybody offered him. But you're right. I think ONE FC must have given him a fat check, and he is a super top tier fighter, which raises their stock.
What happened with Mighty Mouse Johnson, I feel, is very sad, because in the 125-pound category, I felt at that point of time, maybe Dana White was looking to scrap this entire category.
Yeah,
I felt that, at that point of time, when Mighty Mouse was running through all the competition, all the fighters that were given to him, Dana White was pretty much like, there's nothing more to do here. It's not getting me money. It's not a big draw for me. If we have a champion in the 125-pound category and a nice guy like Mighty Mouse Johnson, who doesn't really create controversy, he doesn't talk smack, he doesn't do any of that.
Then on the same hand, Somesh, a lot of people use that against him. He was such a nice guy that he did not become very easily marketable.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that is also a huge part of promotion.
Well, honestly, if the viewers want to see a complete contrast in marketing, I think they should look at ONE FC promotions and UFC promotions, because the UFC is all about controversies and talking smack and building the fighters up. And ONE FC is very, very Singaporean in their approach.
Very Asian.
They want to promote martial arts as respect. They want to promote martial arts as that the people here have etiquettes. They have families,
Right.
and they're good people. We don't have criminals with us. We don't advertise all the arrests and the bar brawls,
Especially
and all of
the
that.
felonies on the road. Like
Absolutely.
throwing a dolly through a window of a bus.
Absolutely.
But but Somesh, see, I think that is also, it's also market specific. Look at the market that the UFC markets to, and look at the market that ONE FC markets to. It is, you remember fans in Pride. Nobody cared if you won or lost. The fact that you came out and put on a show was more than enough for their money. And in North America, fans will destroy you if you make a small mistake or you lose. I mean, since when did losing become a crime? And you lost once and they're calling you washed up. You lose once and they call you loser. I mean, I think that is a different story. We must do a, one of our other segments. We're going to do a whole segment on why MMA fans are not the most liked fans in the world.
Well, imagine John Jones has moved his weight category, and and they're calling him scared.
It's stupid. I mean, if you're going to call John Jones, who is an undefeated behemoth of a monster killer, scared, then I don't know what to say. But that we're going to save for a whole new segment another day. But guys, stay tuned as we go into round number 3 with the MMA Face-Off between Team Chips and Team Kamra for the next week's upcoming fight. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a quick break.
If you love cricket, listen up. The Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast is here for you. Hosted by DJ, Varun, and me, Ashwin, we bring a fun, fresh fan's point of view to talking all things cricket. Sometimes it's just the three of us, sometimes we have guests, including current and former international cricketers. For new episodes every week, check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast on the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to The Fighting GOAT, only on IVM Podcast Network. Guys, we welcome to the MMA Face-Off segment. This is a segment where Team Chips and takes on Team Kamra with our predictions and see who wins for a chance to beat one another up. So far, Team Chips has beaten Somesh Kamra and
Nobody
Team Kamra
wants to know.
Twice. And I've
Nobody
already
wants to
punched
know.
him twice. And by the way, bro, Cyrus Brocha has to still catch us for our shot from last week. And the worst is, again, we lost. We draw again this week. And Cyrus, does he get a chance to hit us? No, no.
You know what? I'm just going to change that bet, and it doesn't exist anymore.
I don't think he's interested in hitting us, dude. I mean, come on.
No, one second.
MMA
He's
what?
very interested in hitting us. He's very interested. You know what? See, we both went wrong with the Israel Adesanya Jan
Correct.
Blachowicz fight,
Huh.
and we again are on the losing end for the fight with Francis Ngannou and Stipe Miocic. So honestly, as the bet goes, Cyrus doesn't get to only punch us, but he gets to give us a liver shot each.
No, you know what? I think we need to change the narrative. Why don't we go all Nick and Nate Diaz on him? Where you at, Cyrus? You're taking everything I worked for.
He'll be like, "Arey, listen, yaar, I'm 49 years old, yaar. I've passed my prime now. So don't talk shit with me, you both." And I live in South Bombay, very far from you.
correct. He's not going to come to Kurla, Malad, Kandivali. वैसे भी रिक्शा जाता ही नहीं है वैसे भी कहाँ क्या बोलेगा भाई जाएगा रिक्शा नहीं जाएगा कहाँ भी नहीं जाएगा जा ही मत. But okay, guys, quickly. We are running short on time, my friend, and it is deciding time. Mighty Mouse Johnson on April 7th will take on the champion of the one flyweight title, that is Adriano Moraes. It's going to be a great fight. If you don't know these guys, Google them because you're in for a war. Team Kamra, what are your picks?
Flyweight division, 125 pounds. The most dominant champion ever in the UFC, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson versus Adriano Moraes. Man, Chips, what a clash this is going to be. I think after a very long time, Mighty Mouse Johnson is going to come out in the blue corner.
That's true. No, but he's been coming out in the blue corner. Well, he's now 3-0 in one. And I don't know what corner he came out in. But yes, you're right. He's coming out from the blue corner.
Man, one of the most dominant guys. And honestly, a great guy. I've had the pleasure to meet him in person. He was there, in fact, in India in 2013.
When did he? And where was I?
When the UFC had signed the broadcasting deal with Sony, it was Mighty Mouse Johnson was here with Rich Franklin.
That's cheating, you know that, right?
Yeah,
I have to.
so
you have to, bro. We are bros now. Yeah, you have to tell me about such shit. You can't keep it to yourself and all.
Yeah, but this happened 2013. Come on.
Okay, quickly. Tell me what your picks are.
Great fight, but I think the belt is going to change hands. I'm a huge Mighty Mouse fan.
Whoa.
And I think it's going to be a new flyweight champion of the world in one championship. I think Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson beats Adriano Moraes.
Yep, I agree as well. Team Chips also goes with Mighty Mouse. Demetrius Johnson, he is a stud. He is one of the most innovative strikers and grapplers. He knows the definition of chained fighting, which means chaining your strikes with your grapples and your wrestling. And he is somebody who can do that so perfectly. I saw him slam somebody, and before the guy landed on the ground, he had him in an armbar at the end of round 5. I mean,
oh man, that was
how
crazy.
do you do that? How do you do that? I mean, that is just something innovatively creative. But so that being said, Team Chips and Team
This
Kamra.
guy's fight IQ is This guy's fight IQ is through the roof. I mean, people cannot miss out on this one. They have to tune in. The gentleman, Mighty Mouse Johnson, has a pancreation background, and he is so humble. But once the cage doors close, oh man, he's a different beast.
He's gonna murder you once that cage door closes.
He's called Mighty Mouse for a reason.
He's tiny, but believe me, nobody in that division wants to screw with him ever. But that being said, guys, catch us next week, and do not forget to follow us on our social media handles. For Instagram, I'm Arjun _Chipalkatti. For Twitter, I'm at Mystic Chipal. Somesh, go.
Well, you can follow me on Instagram, somesh.kamra, and on Twitter, it's somesh_kamra. Guys, please be a part of this. Tell us what your predictions are. Hashtag us, tag us, the Fighting GOAT, tag the IVM podcast, and hashtag the Face-Off. One lucky winner is going to get a very cool gift from our side. So, guys, what are you waiting for?
Come on, guys. You must talk to us. You must tell us. We make all these predictions and stuff. And if we're wrong, we want to hear from our fans. We want to hear from the critic. We want to hear from anybody. Basically, talk to us. And don't forget to tag at IVM Podcast in your comments. So, guys, check us out for all our episodes on ivmpodcast.com. This is Arjun Mystic Chips and Somesh Superhuman Kamra saying, have a fighting day.
Arjun, before leaving, we have a very exciting guest coming with us next week.
Oh, yes.
He's one of India's top MMA fighters who is here to speak to us, who is here to interact with his fans, and let's call him the knockout artist. So guys, stay tuned to the Fighting GOAT next week with Arjun the Mystic Chipalkatti and me, Somesh Superhuman Kamra. So until next time, be safe, take care of yourself. Tune into IVM Podcast, tag us, hashtag us, talk to us, love, laugh and share. Till then, signing off from me and signing off for my friend Arjun Chipalkatti.
Always keep fighting, baby.
Whether you're an established sports person or a budding one, or simply a sports enthusiast, join us, Tanvi and Shlok.
We are two passionate pro badminton players talking policy, mindset and everything sport.
So tune in to the Millennial Athlete every Monday.
Only on the IVM Podcast Network.
Trust us, it's gonna be lit.
Come learn and experience the ABCDs of being queer with me, Shunetro,
and me, Farhad,
on our show Gay BCD.
The two of us take you through our stories and experiences of being gay men in the city of Mumbai and have candid
and sometimes downright scandalous
conversations about sexuality, gay culture, and everything in between.
Catch new episodes of Gay BCD every Tuesday on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get all your podcasts from.